All right, so let's move straight into the class. Okay, so today's class we'll be talking about photosynthesis. So let's straight into the class. In today's class we'll be talking about photosynthesis. So if you have any question, do well to ask a question in the comment section, and also any part you don't understand and maybe you can't hear me, just indicate in the comment section. So today we'll just have a brief class. There will be a very short class. It's going to be a 1 hour class on photosynthesis, and maybe tomorrow we'll continue the topic photosynthesis. Okay, so I believe by definition most people here understand the definition of photosynthesis. In nature, every living organism have to feed. They need to feed. And that means the word have. That means the word need. They need to feed. We all need food because we get what we call energy. We get energy from the food we eat. So food provides what we call chemical energy. Okay, chemical energy. So without this energy, a lot of things we do will not be done. For example, the work we do daily is done by the provision of energy. So in general, living organisms need what? We need energy. That is why we need to feed. You understand? So we have two kinds of nutrition. There's one we call autotrophic nutrition. Autotrophic nutrition. Another one we call heterotrophic nutrition. Heterotrophic. These are the two major ways living organisms can feed. They can feed autotrophically or heterotrophically. When you say autotrophically, it simply means they can make their own their own food. They can make their own food. They can make their own food is what we call autotrophic nutrition. So under autotrophic nutrition, we now have two parts or two types. We have holophytic, okay, and we have chemosynthetic. So we have holophytic and chemosynthetic nutrition. The two kind of nutrition under what autotrophic nutrition. Don't forget that this one means they can make their own food, right? So holophytic means that they make their food using materials like CO2 and water, but in the presence of sunlight. So let's say in the presence of light. So they make their food in the presence of light. Why chemosynthetic means that they use chemical substances, some inorganic chemical substances like that. Some bacteria that make food using utilizing nitrogen in air. Do you understand? Like nitrobacter and the rest of them. They undergo chemosynthetic nutrition. For today's class, we're talking about photosynthesis. Okay. Photosynthesis is also called photosynthetic nutrition, which you can also call holophytic nutrition. You can also call this holophytic nutrition, or we can call this photosynthetic nutrition. So that means that photosynthetic nutrition or photosynthesis is a type of autotrophic nutrition. Do you understand? Do you understand that? That means that living organisms now they can make their own food by themselves using simple materials. Do you understand? So let's break down the word photosynthesis. Okay, we have synthesis and we have photo. The word synthesis means to manufacture, or to make, manufacture or make. Why the word photo means is the Latin word for light. Okay, so don't get it wrong. Don't go and say photosynthesis means make or manufacturing of light. No, this is a process by which plants, okay, by which plants, particularly green plants, this is by which green plants, by which green plants make what? Make food. Okay, they make food in the presence of light. In the presence of light, using materials like CO2. Sorry, using materials like CO2 and what? And water. Do you understand? So plants have some plants, basically green plants. And say I highlighted green plants here. I should have used green to write it. So green plants, you can use simple materials like CO2 and water to manufacture food. Do you understand that? And but that must happen in the presence of what? Of light. Okay? Which means that for them to make their food, energy is needed to make the food. That energy is derived from sunlight or from light. So the energy they get from light, they use to combine CO2 and water and make their food. Do you understand? So let me just give you a simple reaction. Look at this reaction. We have CO2 plus H2O. This will give, sorry, CH2O, or let's just write it as glucose. So this is H12O6 plus oxygen. So balance the reaction. You have a 6 here, a 6 here, and a 6 here. Do you understand that? So you can see 6 CO2 molecule combines with 6 water molecule to form C6H12O6 and what now? And oxygen gas. This gas is given off, okay, to the environment, to the atmosphere. And for this process to happen, energy is needed, which means that this will absorb what? We absorb energy. So you can see this reaction is an endergonic reaction. It is an endergonic reaction, or we say it is an endothermic reaction. It means that energy must be absorbed for the reaction to take place. Do you understand? So for CO2 and water to form these two brothers, this thing here must first what? Must first absorb energy. It doesn't have energy to be able to form food. You understand? So that is why photosynthesis occurs in the presence of sunlight. So it's that sunlight now that provides the energy needed for the combination of CO2 and what now? And H2O. Do you understand that now? Good. So all living organisms have cells. Okay, both plant cells. So we have plant cells, we have animal cells. And when you draw a cell, I can't really give a good sketch, but something like this. You have a cell, you have something in the center, you have let me color this up. We have some organelles in the cell, we have some things in the cells and all that. Okay, let me just make it a little bit pretty. So this is the cell membrane. This is the cell membrane. This obviously is the nucleus of the cell. We have the endoplasmic reticulum, another part of the cell. This part is called the cytoplasm, okay, of the cell. So every cell have organelles, various organelles. As I mentioned up here, I said that for this to happen, energy is needed, Abi, for the combination of CO2 and water. And that energy, okay, is trapped from sunlight. There is something that traps the energy. We call that thing, we call it chlorophyll. It's called chlorophyll. So chlorophyll is a pigment. We say it's a green pigment. The green pigment that is found within a plant. And what is the function of the chlorophyll? Although one of the functions is to make the plant green, but that's not the primary function. That's just like the secondary function. But the primary function is to trap energy. To trap energy. So energy is trapped by the chlorophyll. And where is it found? Chlorophyll is found within the plant. I mean, it traps energy. And what is that energy to do? Energy that it traps is used for the combination of the or for the manufacture of what now? Of food. Now, as you see, chlorophyll is a green pigment, which means that it is found in the green part of the plant. And basically, for a plant, the green part of a plant, the green part of the plant is the leaf. The leaf is the green part of the plant. Let me give you a little sketch. Something like this. Just a little sketch. So this is a leaf. The leaf is green in color. All right. Now, what makes the plant green and what makes the leaf green is the presence. Don't forget that is a leaf is an organ. Okay, and every organ is made up of what tissue. If you look at the cell organization of life, where you say cells aggregate to form tissue, and tissue aggregates to form organ. So that means that since this leaf is an organ, yeah, you find some tissues, Abby, in the leaf. Because like the example of some tissues like the xylem is a tissue. You find the xylem tissue. You find the say a lot of tissues. One of the basic ones to talk about here is the mesophyll tissue. So example of tissues that you find in this leaf. So as I said, leaf is an organ. So leaf, let me write leaf here, an organ. The tissue that make up the leaf, we have mesophyll tissue, mesophyll tissue. Okay, we also have xylem. The xylem is also a tissue. We have the phloem. They are tissues. Okay, which means that are made up of what? Made up of cells. Are made up of cells. If you go up here, you see that tissues are made up of cells. So mesophyll tissue is made up of what? Mesophyll cells. Do you understand? Xylem tissue is made up of xylem cells and so on and so forth. That means in this leaf, again, as I said up here, they are what? They are tissues. They are tissues. So let me give a little sketch. As I said, I'm not really good at diagrams, so I'll just try to give a little sketch. A little sketch. Okay. Little sketch. Let me just when you look at a leaf through a microscope, the transverse section of the leaf. Okay, this is too long. Let me rub off this part. Okay. Okay, so little sketch. Okay. Okay, so look at this. I hope you all are following. Hope you all are following. So this year we have something like this. Let me just label. This part is called the cortical. The cortical is waxy, so you can say it's a waxy cortical, which makes the leaf waterproof. Okay, that means water cannot penetrate the leaf through this point. Do you understand? Look at these green things I drew. These green things here, they are the what? They are the mesophyll tissue. Do you understand? So this is a part of the mesophyll tissue. This is also a part of the what? Mesophyll tissue. Do you understand? We call this one the palisade mesophyll cell. and we call this one the spongy mesophyll cell, the palisade mesophyll cell, and the spongy mesophyll cell. Okay, so together like this, they are called the mesophyll tissue. Mesophyll tissue. Now, why am I showing you? Why am I talking about the mesophyll tissue? The mesophyll tissue contains a particular organelle. Don't forget that every every cell. This is how the plant cell looks like. Something like this. Just a little sketch. It also has its own nucleus. Okay, so but it has a lot. It has a very big vacuole. A very big vacuole, and there is something in the cell. Say that's in plant cell. It's green in color. What do we call that thing? That thing, let me just check it out. That thing is called chloroplast. It's called chloroplast. Okay, as what implies, chloro means green, plast is a plastic. So the chloroplast is just an organelle in a plant that is green in color. Are you getting that? And that is the site for photosynthesis, which means that this process of photosynthesis takes place in the what? In the chloroplast. Hence, any living cell that has a chloroplast can what? Can photosynthesize. Do you understand? Once you have a chloroplast, means that you can undergo what? Photosynthesis. Do you understand that? So chloroplast is just a green plastic. It's a green, it's a green plastic. Okay, it's a green plastic. So it contains some things I'll mention. I'll mention that in the next few minutes. Okay. So the plastic is a green plastic. So every cell, every plant cell that can undergo photosynthesis will have what? Will have the chloroplast. Do you understand? So this chloroplast now is found in the mesophyll tissue. So in the mesophyll tissue, we have the what? We have your chloroplast. So it's found inside the mesophyll tissue, which means that your palisade mesophyll cell and spongy mesophyll cell contains what now? I think you understand what I'm trying to say. Contains chloroplast. So in this palisade cell, also in this spongy cell, we find the chloroplast, which means that photosynthesis will occur within this region, the palisade cell and in the spongy mesophyll cell. I hope this is clear. Now, I can't really draw the chloroplast, but I'll give you an idea of how it looks like. It's green in color, so you can just go up online and check a good diagram of the chloroplast. It is something like this. Again, you know where it's found now, Abby. And in the chloroplast, there are two parts. Let me write that out. Your chloroplast, made up of two parts. A part that is kind of solid, okay, and a part that is not, I won't say liquid, it's not really liquid, but I can say it's semi-liquid. Let's put it that way. A semi-liquid. So it is a liquid portion of the chloroplast. So we have two portions of the chloroplast. So we have the solid portion and we have the liquid portion of the chloroplast. Do you understand? The solid portion of the chloroplast is called thylakoid. It's called thylakoid. Thylakoid. While the liquid portion of the chloroplast is called stroma. That means in your chloroplast, there are two parts. There is thylakoid and there is what now? There is stroma. Okay? And one more thing you should notice is this. Most energy producing organelles in a cell, an energy producing or energy utilizing organelle, usually have a double membrane. Double membrane, which means that the chloroplast has a double membrane. A double membrane. Just like if you remember the last time we talked about cellular respiration, where I drew the let me draw this well, where I drew the mitochondrion looking something like this. You can say the mitochondria has two membranes, Abi. This is the outer membrane, that's outer mitochondrial membrane, and this is the inner mitochondrial membrane. This space here is called the what, if you remember? It's called the intermembrane space. The intermembrane space. So this here is the intermembrane space. While this partition, let me do that in red. This partition here, this folding, is called the crystal. Although this is the inner membrane, but the folding of the inner membrane is called the crystal. Okay. Then everything within the inner membrane, everything here, like this, everything here is called the matrix. So this is the matrix of the mitochondrion. So similarly, the chloroplasts also have a double membrane. So let me sketch that up. Let me sketch that up. So something like something like this. Something like this. So the chloroplasts also have two membranes. So obviously, this is the outer. This is the outer mitochondrial, sorry, outer membrane of the chloroplast, and the one in white, is obviously the what, the inner. Just like we have intermembrane space here, everything around, everything around here, everything around here like this will be the intermembrane space, which is in between the outer and the inner membrane. Now, in the within the inner membrane, that's where you have the solid portion and liquid portion, which is the thylakoid and the stroma. The thylakoid is just like a flattened disc, just like a disc. Let me draw that. Just like a disc, something like this, something like this. So these are the thylakoid looks like. Just like a flat disc. Okay, but we don't have we do not have only one thylakoid within the chloroplast. We have a lot of thylakoids. We have thousands of thylakoids within the chloroplast. Do you understand? And the way they are arranged is that they are stuck on each other. That means that something like this. So we have a thylakoid like this, or that one like this, or that one like this, or that one like this. I don't think this diagram is doing a lot of justice to how it looks like, but I think you get the idea. So we stack up styler code like in a straight line, one over the other. Let me draw on that stalk again, something like this. So I think you get the idea. So the Tyler code now are stuck over each other. So one Tyler code over another, one Tyler code over another. Do you understand that? So each of them is a Tyler code, right? There is a Tyler code. But when you stack them over another like this, it forms a kind of stack of Tyler codes. So a group of Tyler codes like this is called, so this one, I like that. Let me box it. Let me box it a different color. So this here is called a granum. It's called granum. If it's not clear, just simply increase your increase your resolution. Increase your resolution. Okay, you can't hear me. Okay, I'll try to write more legibly. Okay, I'll try to write more legibly. Okay, so as I was saying, okay, let me write this well. So you can see my handwriting. Let's make it bigger. So this is the granum. That is the granum. So so this is a granum. This also, let me like that. This also is a granum, Abi. This also is also a granum. So a group of granum is called grana. 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 Like grana is just plural of granum. You understand? So you know what a granum is? Granum is just stalk of what? Of thylakoid. So I said the chloroplast is made up of two parts, Abi. the thylakoid and the stroma. The thylakoid is the solid part which I've drawn already. The stroma is what? The liquid portion. Not liquid per se, but like the semi liquid, which is all this part outside here. Okay, everything outside here, but within the inner membrane is the stroma. So this here is the stroma. This here is the stroma. Okay. Okay. So that part is the stroma. So I think now you've seen how the chloroplast look like, the thylakoid and the stroma. So that's one thing to know because in your exams you might be asked questions like the solid portion of the chloroplast is the dash. The answer is what? Thylakoid. Why the semi-liquid or the liquid portion of the stroma is of the chloroplast is dash. Your answer is what? Is the stroma. Do you understand? Now for photosynthesis, again our topic is what? Photosynthesis. Photosynthesis. Now for photosynthesis now, okay, we already know that it is whereby which green plant make their food that be according to the reaction CO2 plus H2O to give I written off the reaction up there already to give C6 H12O6. So sometimes write this as CH2O then N because this can be a starch sometimes, it not be always it's not always glucose, okay? Then plus oxygen leaving the cell, okay, leaving that plant cell. And it will leave via where's my diagram? Yes, the oxygen will leave via this point. So we call this point, we call this place here, we call it the stomata. So oxygen will leave via the stomata. Do you understand that? Okay, back to this now. Now for this reaction to happen, it happens in two steps. Okay, actually, photosynthesis reaction is actually three steps. It's actually three processes. Okay, but actually two reactions. So we place two steps in one step. I don't know if you get what I'm trying to say. What I mean is this: there are two stages of photosynthesis. Okay, there are two stages. We call one the light stage or the light reaction stage, and we call another one the dark reaction stage. So most of you make mistake with the definition of these two. When I say light reaction stage, I simply mean in the presence of light. Okay? And when I say dark reaction stage, I do not mean in the night. This does not mean night. This simply means in the absence of light, not in the night. So there's a big difference between night and absence of light. So there's a big difference. So this one happens in the absence of light, and this one happens in what? This one happens in what? In the presence of light. Now in your light reaction stage, two things happen. Okay, I can summarize as one. The first thing that will happen is that there will be absorption of light energy. So light energy will be trapped. So light energy energy will be trapped. Okay, will be trapped. So light energy will be trapped. That's the first thing that happens in the light reaction stage. Okay, and that energy that is being trapped is now used for the production. Is used for the production of production of ATP, production of ATP and NADPH. So the energy that is being trapped is used for the production of what now? Of ATP and NADPH. I think this is clear. This is what happens in the light reaction stage. While in the dark reaction stage, now, what happens here is the reduction, of CO2. The reduction of CO2. That means that CO2 will be reduced in the dark reaction stage. While in light reaction stage, what happens? One, light energy will be trapped, and two, The energy be used to for the production of what now? Of NADPH. So briefly, I'll briefly I'll briefly explain each of the stages. So let's start with the first stage, which is the light reaction stage. So before I move on, if you're a new student and you're just joining, do well to share the invite link to your friends, your WhatsApp group, and all. And also do well to subscribe to the channel and turn on your notification. Okay. So if you are ready for each of the stages, simply drop a message in the chat section. Just drop any message, I or whatever, so we can start talking about the stages. Okay, so let's talk about the light reaction stage. Okay, now one thing you should know about the light reaction stage is that, as I said earlier, it occurs in the what? It occurs in the presence of light. And two things happen in light reaction stage. One is one is let me write it out. One is the trapping of light or trapping of light energy. So energy will be trapped. That's the first thing that happens. Energy is trapped. Okay. And second thing that will happen is that that energy that is trapped is now used to make used to make ATP and what? And NADPH is used to make ATP and NADPH. Okay, so let's talk about the first one. How is this energy trapped? How is this energy trapped? Now, I said in the chloroplast, in my diagram up there, chloroplast is made up of two parts, thylakoid and what? Stroma. Now, note something. The light reaction stage occurs in the thylakoid. It occurs in the thylakoid, and as you may guess, the dark reaction stage occurs in the what now? In the stroma. You understand? So let me briefly draw out I drew it up there. This is how a thylakoid looks like. Okay, a thylakoid looks something like this. So when we have stalks of thylakoid upon each other, we call that a granum. The thylakoid itself also has its own membrane. Yes, has a membrane. You can see this line is the membrane. So this here is the membrane of the thylakoid of the thylakoid. And don't forget, if you remember membranes, you know that membranes are usually cell membranes is a phospholipid bilayer. So it's a bilayer, okay? Something that looks like this. I'll just quickly draw. Can't really draw it completely because of time. I'll just give you an idea. So the bilayer. supposed to complete it like this. So I don't know how I'm going to curve this part. So I think you get the idea. So it continues like this, continues like this. I don't want to I don't want to waste much time in drawing the layers. So you can see, just imagine this curve you see over here. That is this same. So you can see the bilayer. Bilayer means that there are two layers. If you realize I do something like this. I always draw the edge and I draw two lines. We call these lines, we call them the tail. This is the tail and this is the edge. So the edge is hydrophilic, which means that it loves water, while the tail is what is hydrophobic. So we have an hydrophilic edge and a hydrophobic what tail. That one makes up the makes up the this thing that makes a bilayer. You understand? So it goes like that to all through, it goes all through like this, it goes all through like this, but I can't really start drawing the full diagram. Okay, so that you get the idea of how the membrane of the thyroid cord looks like. Okay, so in the membrane of the membrane of thyroid cord, there are some things that we should consider. There is something that aids in trapping energy. Okay, let me draw it over here. Let me draw it over here like this. Let me do that over here. Let me do that over here. Now this thing here is called a photosystem. I'm tempted to complete the diagram, so let me add more. Just give me a few seconds. Give me a few seconds. Now, this green thing I drew here, I called it what? The photo. So this is a photo system. Okay, a photo system. If you want to just give a simple, intuitive definition of what a photo system is, photo means light. So a photo system, what it does is that it traps light energy. It traps photon. So this here, let me take out this up here. So this here is a photo system. A photo system. What does it do? It traps. It traps, as the word implies, it traps photon. Photon means energy from light. Okay, so this photosystem will trap energy from sunlight. You understand? Which means that this photosystem is made up of what? It's made up of what traps energy. Let's go back to our previous note. From the beginning of the class, I mentioned something up here where I said chlorophyll is a green pigment. And what does chlorophyll do? It traps what? Energy. What does this tell us? What does this tell us? This tells us that this photosystem here, since it traps energy, it traps photon, it is made up of what? What makes the photosystem? Chlorophyll. So chlorophyll, more than about 20, depending on the kind of photosystem we're talking about. We have two photosystems. We have photosystem one, photosystem two. This particular one you see here is photosystem one. Photosystem two, sorry. This is photosystem two. Let me use a different color for that. Photosystem, photosystem two. Okay. So what does photosystem do? It simply does what? It traps what? energy. So it is this photosystem that will trap the energy coming from the sun. Let me use red for that. To trap the energy coming from the sun. So the energy coming from the sun is trapped or is absorbed by the photosystem. I get in that. And the energy that is being trapped, that's why I said in light reaction, what do you light reaction state? What happens? What's the first thing that happens? Energy is being what is trapped. So what traps the energy? What traps the energy is the photosystem, abi, which is and what makes up the photosystem? Chlorophyll. Do you get? So the photosystem here, photosystem two, to trap the energy. I get in that. And now, what's the energy used for? The energy is used for the splitting of water. So that energy will be used to split water. So let me write the reaction. See, you have H2O. You have H2O. When energy is absorbed by the photosystem, water here will split into hydrogen ion, okay, and O2. So balance the reaction. I think you have a 2 here, and you have, I think you have half here. I think that's balanced, right? So you have that, we have that, okay. If I have two molecules of H2O, then I will have 4 here, I will have 4 here, and I will have what here? I will have 2. Is that 2? Okay, I have 1 O2, that's balanced now. So the energy that is being trapped, that is being absorbed by the photosystem 2, is used for what? Is used for this. So water, H2O, will be forming what? Will be forming H plus and O2 minus. When sorry, and O2. And when this happens, electrons are being released. Electrons that have high energy. So high energy electrons. High energy electrons. High energy electrons are being released from the breaking of water. So this thing here, this process is called photolysis of water. Photolysis. Photolysis of water. Okay. So in the photolysis of water, what happens when H plus will be produced, Abi? That H plus will be released into where? Into which part? Into this part. If you compare my diagram to where the thylakoid looks like, this is the membrane, Abi, of the thylakoid. Everything inside here, inside thylakoid is called the thylakoid space. So again, if this is the thylakoid membrane, which is this white thing I drew, this white thing that goes around like this, that's thylakoid membrane. Then the space within the thylakoid membrane, this space is called the thylakoid space. The thylakoid space. So that means that this part is the thylakoid space. That means that the hydrogen ion, the H plus, where is it released to? Is it released outside thylakoid space or inside thylakoid space? Is released what? Inside the thylakoid space. Everything outside the thylakoid membrane. This is thylakoid now. This is the thylakoid. Everything outside it, around all this region, is the stroma. Don't forget the stroma is the liquid portion the of the chloroplast. So outside the thylakoid membrane is the stroma. So the hydrogen ion that is produced from the process of water is released into the thylakoid space, creating a high hydrogen ion gradient. Do you understand? Now, this is the liquid chloroplast. So the stroma is the liquid portion of the chloroplast. So I said the photosystem two we absorb what photon from light, and that photon will be used to do what now? To break down, to split water into H plus, split water into H plus and O2. So O2 is the gas the that will leave the chloroplast. Do you understand? And I said when this happens, what happens? High energy electrons are produced. Okay, and that electrons now is what will now be used for the synthesis of ATP and NADPH. Let me dive back a little bit. Let me dive back a little bit so you won't be confused. I said what happens in light reaction stage? Two things. One, energy will be trapped. Okay, energy is being trapped. And what is trapping energy here? The photosystem. So photosystem that is made up of chlorophyll. We want to trap what now? Trap energy. And when that energy is being trapped, okay,
The energy is used for the photolysis of water, which will now release what? Which will now release high energy electrons. It is these electrons that will now do what? That will now be used to make ATP and NADPH in chemosynthesis. So there'll be a chain here, there'll be a chain here of electrons, of electron movement. So as I said earlier, I said the electrons that we produce here have high energy transported. Okay, they'll be transported to something called the something called the ATP synthase. ATP synthase, ATP synthase, and NA NADP NADP reductase. Now, it is these two things that will now produce what and what respectively. Produce ATP and what NAD pH respectively. Do you understand? So the electrons will be carried to the ATP synthase and the NADP reductase, which will now be used to produce what? ATP and NADPH. Is this clear? Do you understand? Okay, so let's move on. Let's move on. Let's move on. So please ask a question if you are not getting what I am saying. And just to give a little recap, I said light ion stage is it occurs in the presence of light, and what happens is what energy is being trapped. That's one thing that will happen. And two, that energy is being used for the formation of what ATP and NADP. That's what I've explained so far. So the energy is being trapped by the photosystem too. Okay, the energy that's been trapped is used for the photolysis of water. In that case, H plus will be produced, which stays in the thylakoid space, and O2 will leave the thylakoid. Do you understand? And when this happens as well, I high energy electrons will be produced on the surface of water. Okay, and that electrons now is what drives the synthesis of ATP and NADPH through two enzymes. One of the enzymes what will produce ATP is ATP synthase, and what to produce NADPH is NADP reductase. I wish I could use this diagram to continue, but diagram looks a little bit rough. So let me try clarifying things. So I won't draw the double membrane because of time. So let me just draw the line. Okay. Let's draw a line. So you should get what this line represents. This is not how the membrane looks like. It looks like what I drew up there. But let's just use this so as to save time. So let's say this is the membrane now. So this here, this is the membrane. This is the membrane of the outer membrane of the thylakoid. Okay, so let me just make that a little bit presentable. So this is the membrane. So everything here within the thylakoid, and this is the thylakoid, don't forget. So within the thylakoid, within is called the what? The thylakoid space. You understand? As I said, the first thing that will happen is that the energy will be trapped. Abi, so what to trap the energy? What do we call it? What do I call it? I call it photosystem, isn't it? Photosystem is impregnated with chlorophyll. So we have something like this, something like this, something like this. So this is a photosystem. And I call the photosystem, I call it what? Photosystem. Is it one or two? Photosystem two. So this is photosystem two. So energy coming from sun, will be absorbed by or will be trapped by the photosystem. And what does that energy do? Energy will be used for the what? Energy is used for the splitting of water. Okay, so look at the reaction again. So water will be broken down and water will form what? Will form H plus and O2. Okay, so the H plus remains in the thylakoid space while O2 leaves. You understand? And when this happens, energy is also what liberated. Energy has high electrons. I'm using a red marker to show that the energy have high electrons. And I said in the previous slide that this is this energy that is used for the synthesis of what of ATP and NADPH. This electron now is now transported along the thylakoid membrane. It's transported. The energy of the electron is passed to something called quinone. Quinone is an electron carrier. Okay, in this case, we call it a plastoquinone. Do something like this. So let's something like this. Let me just use some this. Let me use this color. Let me use something else to draw. Let me use this. Okay, so it looks something like this. So we call this the plastoquinone. The plastoquinone is just like an energy carrier. Is an energy acceptor. Let's put it that way. So the electrons that will be released from the photosystem too is passed down to the what to this thing. What I call it, I called it I called it the plastoquinone. I called it plastoquinone is an electron acceptor. You understand? So that's electron acceptor. So the electrons will be passed down to this, and the plastoquinone says an electron acceptor. I mean, that means that it also helps in passing electrons. It can transfer electrons. So the energy of the electrons is being transferred by the plastoquinone to 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 a complex to a complex to a complex. Let me draw that something like this. It looks like this. So this is a complex. Okay, we call this a complex. Complex has a name, but for now, we're not going to talk about that in this video. Okay, so it's called B2 complex. So this is a complex. Okay, so the electrons is passed down. The energy of the not the electrons themselves. Don't forget that the electrons have what high energy. It is high energy of that electrons. Okay, that will now be passed down by electron carriers. Okay, like the plastoquinone is an electron acceptor, so to accept the electrons from the photosystem 2 and pass it down to the complex. Once you get to the complex, the electrons, the energy of that electron will now be used to pump hydrogen. Don't forget that we have hydrogen in here from here now. We have hydrogens in here. So this complex will pump hydrogen, will pump more hydrogen into the what the thylakoid space. Do you understand? So the energy of the electrons is used by the complex for pumping hydrogen into the thylakoid space. Okay. So moving on, the complex in turn passes the high energy electron to another electron acceptor, but this one is not called plastoquinone. This one is called plasto plastocyanin. It's also an electron acceptor. Okay, so the plastocyanin now passes down the electrons. I think you have seen the line while the electron is moving. Pass the electron to the next photosystem. Now the next photosystem we have. Now I drew that in green. Let me draw this in green as well. Okay, that's in green as well. So this is another photosystem. So this photosystem is called photosystem 1. It's called photosystem 1. So the electrons, now don't forget that the electron was passed down from photosystem 2 and passed down to what now? To photosystem 1. Now let's think about something. Imagine you're frying plantain to hold. The person will not be able to hold it away because the plantain will be very, very hot. But if the person passes the plantain down to the next person, and that person passes down to the next person, before you pass out the plantain to like 10, 15 people, realize that the plantain will become what now? Become cold. It will have lost the energy. So my point here is that as the high energy electron is being passed down from the photosystem one to plastoquinone to complex to plastocyanine, before it gets to photosystem one, the energy of electrons will have what? We have reduced. So what will happen? To boost the energy of electrons, the photosystem one as well will do what again? We absorb more electrons. Don't forget that photosystems, what they do, they trap electrons. They trap energy. Do you understand? From sun. So the photosystem one now will absorb more what? Energy. Will absorb more energy. And that energy will increase the energy of the previous electron. Don't forget this electron is coming from here, then it's coming from here. When it gets to this point, the energy will have reduced, Abi. So this photosystem two now, photosystem one now will absorb more energy so as to boost the energy of the one coming from photosystem two. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. Now from there now, the energy now is now passed down to a to a let me draw that. Let me draw that here. It's passed down to an enzyme. We call that enzyme. We call that enzyme. Okay, let me not draw it this way. Let me change the diagram so you know it's not the same. We call that enzyme. We call it. We call this the NADPH or the NADP reductase. The NADP reductase. Are you guys following? The NADP reductase. So what does NADP reductase is? What does it do? It produces obviously. What does it produce? It produces what? Na NADPH. Okay. So let me rub this off. So yeah, this NADP reductase produces NADPH. Produces NADPH from NADP. So NADP will accept some electron from hydrogen protons, okay, and form what? NADPH. So the electron again, let me start from here. The energy from the photosystem one now, so the energy has been increased now because of the photosystem one also absorb energy. So to pass it down now to the NADP reductase, okay, but via another electron acceptor, just like we have plastoquinone and plasto cyanine. But the thing here is that the electron acceptor here is not called plastoquinone. It's called ferredoxine. Ferredoxine. So let me spell that. So it's called ferredoxine. It's called ferredoxine. It's called ferredoxine. So this ferredoxine now is another electron acceptor that will pass the energy electrons down to the NADP reductase. So which now use the electrons now to form what? To form NADPH. So it's that electron now that is now used. That's the high energy electron is now used. That's energy from the not the electron itself, but the energy from the electron is now used to do this process. That's to convert NADP to NADPH. So I only had to just show you how the NADPH was formed. But I gave you a summary up here from the beginning, where I said that in light reaction stage, energy is being trapped, which I have already explained, and that energy is used for the formation of what? Of ATP and NADPH. So NADPH is formed from NADP reductase, and ATP is formed from ATP synthase. It is very similar process. Do you understand? So all this thing here happens in what stage? Happens in the light reaction stage. So if you ask you a question that what happens in the light reaction stage, you simply say energy is being trapped in the light reaction stage, and energy is used for the photolysis of water. Okay, and the high energy electrons emitted from photolysis of water is used for the production of ATP and NADPH. I hope this is clear. So that's the summary of this is a summary. This is not the full gist. Okay, this is a summary of the light reaction stage. For the dark reaction stage, I'll give you a summary of this as well. For the dark reaction stage now, for the dark reaction stage, what happens here? What happens here? This is where there is what? Reduction. Reduction to what? To organic molecules. To organic molecules. To organic what? Molecules. So CO2 is reduced to organic molecules like starch and the rest. Do you understand? So that's that reaction state. That what happens there. Please don't get the idea wrong. This does not mean this does not mean in the night. It means in the absence of light. It's different. Okay. So don't say dark reaction state occurs in the night. No. Say dark reaction state occurs in the absence of what? Of light. In the absence of light, there's reduction of CO2 to what? To organic molecules. And we call it forms a kind of cycle. And we call that cycle, we call it the Calvin cycle. It's called the Calvin cycle. Why is it called a cycle? Because the starting product is gotten back at the end of the cycle. Starting product is something called RUBP. RUBP, okay? That's okay, let me give you the full meaning of RUBP. That's re, ribulose, ribulose biphosphate, or you can say ribulose 1,5,1,5 biphosphate. Ribulose 1,5 biphosphate. This is the starting molecule, okay, of the Calvin cycle. At the end of the cycle, what is being produced is still what? Is still RUBP. Do you get? So again, to recap, I said that dark radiation state occurs in the absence of light, and it means that CO2 will be reduced to organic molecules like um, ribulose biphosphate and other organic molecules like G3P, that's glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, and starch. Okay, now for this to happen, energy is needed. Okay, that energy is gotten from the light reaction state. Don't forget that light reaction state, what happens? What is produced in the light reaction state? What is produced? You can tell me in the comment section. What is produced in the light reaction stage? Okay, ATP and NADPH. Those are the things that are produced in the light reaction stage. So without light reaction stage, there cannot be dark reaction stage because for there to be reduction of of for there to be reduction for there to be reduction of CO2, energy is needed, and energy is derived from ATP and NADPH. So it's that energy from NADPH and ATP that is now used for the reduction of what? Of CO2. Okay. Um I think we are way past time. We are way past time. So if you have a question, you can leave them in the comment section. Maybe in the next class we'll talk about the dark reaction stage and how
and how CO2 is being reduced in the dark reaction stage. And what do we call the stage again? We call it the Calvin cycle. And why is it called a cycle? Because the start molecule, which is how UBP is what is produced at the end. Do you understand? So let me just give you a glimpse. In next class we will continue. Maybe we'll have it on that live section to explain this part. If you want us to have another like section to explain Calvin cycle, just drop a comment in the comment section. So what happens is that CO2, let me draw a straight line, that CO2, six CO2 molecules and six water, okay, is added to something. This will react with a five carbon molecule called RUBP. So what happens is that this CO2, we call this, okay, let me not miss that out. We call this carbon fixation. What is carbon fixation? Okay. That means when this combines, when CO2 combines with RUBP, we call it what? Carbon fixation. So the first thing that will happen in Calvin cycle is that CO2, six CO2 molecule will combine with what? RUBP. And what's RUBP? RUBP is what? Ribulose 1,5 biphosphate. Or you can just simply say ribulose biphosphate. So when this happens, it forms a molecule. That molecule is called PG, that's, let me write that out, phosphoglycerate. Phosphoglycerate. Glycerate. It forms phosphoglycerate. Alright. How many phosphoglycerates will be formed? And the thing here is that we're having six CO2 molecules, Abby. We also have six of this. So when you add up, that will give me 12 of phosphoglycerate. And what's the enzyme that facilitates the carbon fixation? This is a very important question in the exam. The enzyme that facilitates carbon fixation of CO2 and RUBP is called Rubisco. It's called Rubisco for short. It's called Let me write it out here. It's called RU Rubis. That is called Rubisco. So this here is called rubulose biphosphate carboxylase oxygenase. It's called Rubisco. Rubisco is ribulose 1,5 biphosphate. Ribulose 1,5, or you can just say ribulose biphosphate carboxylase oxygenase. So it's an enzyme that will aid the carbon fixation of what? CO2 and RUBP to form phosphoglycerate. Okay. So this part just functions like the normal cellular respiration, but in the backward sense. Maybe in next class we'll talk about back reaction and Calvin cycle. So if you have a question, do well to drop them in the comment section. See you all in the next class.